Right, so I owe you guys an apology for posting the video yesterday and not bothering to do the due diligence. It turns out that after having edited and uploaded the video um, and recorded a second session, the video that got to you had no audio, and as I went to check the original file, neither did that. So I went on half an hour yapping without even realizing that my mic was turned off. I'm just going to keep that as a relic. Here's the real deal. We have Stinky Pete, aka Don, aka Hitmonlee Oswald, and they're on the bottom corner. I will be referring to them as Don, okay? And July, someone who I'm waiting on right now to finish a friendly match. And this is the Silver Bracket Qualifierss Grand Finals. Now, the player that gets in will be qualified for sure, guaranteed, and will not need to be invited into the tournament. So they will be known as a qualifier. That doesn't mean that the other players can't make it in, as they've had a very deep bracket, but we'll see. All right, it's best of 3. You guys know. Now, let's begin. So, I apologize for that earlier. Anyways, we got ourselves a lax lead, and oops, my bad. Hang on. Sorry. I'm going to make it a tad faster. All right. Let's refresh real quick. First turn. Lax lead, and we got a Curse Lax, which may or may not be indicative of a golem in the back, a spinner, so to speak, versus a Cloister lead, which may indicate a Raikou in the back because of the way leads work. So you want to be able to switch in safely on Zapdos. So the Steelix roars in the opposing Cloister, and there's a small exchange of Toxics and Spikes. Okay. And so far, so good. We do have an incoming Raikou on Don's end. Don is on the bottom, just a small reminder. And Thunder lands on the Lax, and we see a Donphan. Okay, so while this isn't a Golem, it definitely fits the criteria of a spinner, because the spinner is something that Curse EQ Lax can greatly benefit from. How do I know it's EQ? I don't. But with a spinner, that's already indicative of the fact that we probably don't have a Tyranitar. I say probably because you can never know with these players. Donphan is pretty good. It's not a normal resist, but it's pretty thick. Physically, at least. And so it came in, it did spin away the spikes one time, but it's not thick on the special side. Not enough girth. So it goes down to the hidden power, and Lax is going to start to curse up. Lax is really strong, but July is just going to straight up explode, and now Raikou has to land a Thunder, and Dawn will not be able to spin away those spikes. That doesn't mean that the Lax is out for good, but it can't just come in willy-nilly. The Raikou, Dawn is trying to make the Raikou use as much of that Thunder PP as possible before going up to rest. Oh man, the pace on fast is so much better. I don't have to just fill in. So there's so far, we've seen only the normal resist on July's side. And on Dawn's team, we have yet to see one. Dawn using Dawn Fan. I get it. So, Raikou. What could there be? It's funny because my memory is blank right now, even though I already commented on the game. And some of you have already seen this game. We're seeing a small exchange here. We're going to speed up a bit because fuck this. Okay, and finally, in comes the T-Tar. So T-Tar synergizes well with ground types, and it kind of leverages your Tar to be a little bit more offensive, but it depends in this case. So he's going to go for that Roar. In comes the Cloyster. As it's roared in, it doesn't take poison damage, so it's only going to take 12.5, not the typical 25. And the other Cloyster takes some damage, and it's going to kill the Steelix. Now, in my last commentary, I didn't entirely agree with this switch out, because switching into Steelix to catch a boom, for me, makes sense if you're switching out from anything that isn't Cloyster. Just take the shot, take the hit. Cut your losses. You might even win the 50-50. But in this case, July kind of lost out on a Mon, and now they're down 1. So that also means that the Raikou is a little bit more hard-pressed to handle incoming special attacks. And as you can see here, there is always a risk. The risk is there. It went really low, but it just managed to rest on that particular turn. But if July didn't, it would have been a toss-up. So, that's how it is. And more of this. All right, so we see T-Tar coming in, a bit of a risky play, but Don is going to decide to play those odds because, of course, the lax in the back. And Tar, it's not the worst odds because the thing it's most afraid of is that Thunder. Of course, Tar manages to rest up, so that's something. But who is it going to wake up against next time on Dragon Ball Z? So Raikou, July kind of just baits in more Thunders, tries to go to Zapdos, but not trying to get any sort of, not trying to 1v1 the Raikou here. Oh my god, this is riveting action. Where were we? Okay, so I just got off this game with July right now. So, continuing on. We got ourselves a nice little para that could be helpful here. T-Tar. Yeah, July's going to want to put that Raikou back to rest, so. And we do see Hidden Power Water, so that's super effective against Rock. Gonna force the Raikou back in. Riveting action, really. Now this is an interesting little turn here. And the reason is because you would think that Raikou beats the Cloyster. Now, it's a bit of a toss-up because there's a couple of factors. One could be Hidden Power Water versus Hidden Power Ice. Now, I'm not really sure of the exact role of Hidden Power Water, but Hidden Power Ice here definitely doesn't kill. Okay? And Hidden Power Water might kill. And it's important that it does because the Cloyster will most certainly explode. Why not just Thunder? Because Thunder, again, this is not up to choice at this point for Dawn because the Raikou is asleep. And Sleep Talk will choose one of the other 3 moves. So you got a 33% chance of any of the other moves. Only 1 in 3 chance of picking Thunder. So 33%. But Thunder is only 70% accurate. So the actual odds of this Raikou killing the Cloyster might be 21% out of 100. So the odds are not in favor of Dawn, which is why Dawn switches out. Okay. And the last mon on each team is revealed, and we see a substitute. Substitute proving pretty threatening against some teams, but not this one. Executor is not unprepared for this team and even gets a crit on the Zapdos. And now Dawn is going to go straight back to Raikou. Seems like Raikou is the answer to all of life's problems. I mean, if I had an electric tiger, I would be able to pursue all of my enemies. Like my boss, who isn't paying me, who hasn't paid me for the past 2 months. I just want to break their ankles. But if I had a Raikou, I wouldn't need to do that. I could just have this good tiger/dog maul them, you know? And I would outpace any car. This Raikou is handling a legendary bird. I'm pretty sure it can handle an Alfa Romeo. So, Raikou is handling the Zapdos quite well. Because even though the Zapdos has one boost isn't quite enough for it to deal significant damage to the Raikou. 27% is just a mild 4-hit KO if everything goes well for the Zapdos. And Thunder is a 3-hit KO against the Zapdos. Not to mention that the Raikou also has Hidden Power Ice, this one. So it's a little bit bulkier, and it has a secondary move that deals super effective damage, which means it can kind of save up on that Thunder PP. It doesn't have to throw 3 in a row, it can throw 2 and then go for a Hidden Power Ice. If the Zapdos had Thunder, that special attack boost might have been a lot more helpful. But in this case, it's not quite going to cut it. So July's only hope here of winning is to make the Raikou run out of PP. Dawn knows this, so Dawn is going to be conservative here because the ball is in their court. See how Dawn is electing not to attack while asleep because the Raikou only has 4 Sleep Talk PP left. See? There's a crit, but still. Zapdos would need 2 crits in a row. Oh, well, there you go. And Dawn chose to use rest right on that turn where July got a second crit in a row. That really would have turned the whole game around, but it didn't happen. That just goes to show sometimes the game doesn't want you to win. Okay. The Thunder misses. Zapdos still has about 30 moves in their tank. So Raikou has to land a hit now. Stalling out the Zapdos is not going to cut it. Or maybe it is, I don't know. Oh shit, I sped ahead right on the turn where the attack happened, where the decisive move happened. So the Thunder lands, and Zapdos chooses not to use rest. July doesn't use rest. Kind of probing, kind of just like poking at Dawn, trying to make them use all the PP. Raikou probably doesn't want to switch out because another thing might die. And in comes the Exeggutor. We know that it's Hidden Power Water, right? So the Exeggutor can come in relatively safely. And it's going to use Leech Seed. Leech Seed is actually, it doesn't look like a strong move, but it's actually quite lethal. And the Vaporeon is going to go down. And now, if Zapdos comes in, it doesn't have the special attack boost. And there's the Leech Seed from Eggy. This kind of turns a favorable matchup from Zapdos into a matchup that is closer to a 50-50 with the Leech Seed there. But Exeggutor doesn't thrive on winning 1v1s. It thrives on causing chaos. Because right now, you see, Dawn knows that July wants to switch out, right? So, what Dawn does is use Leech Seed. And now the Zapdos is in 2-hit KO range, and it's forced to use Sleep Talk. And meanwhile, Exeggutor is getting more HP back, making life more difficult. Because if, say, the Zapdos can no longer use Sleep Talk or can no longer attack, then that Snorlax in the back is just going to be a looming problem. Eventually, it will be able to come in. But in this case, Exeggutor manages to take down the Zapdos, and we know that the Raikou cannot kill Exeggutor, so we're probably going to see an explosion. And Game 1 is sealed. It goes to Dawn. Oops. Now moving on to Game 2. Okay? Game 2, we got Cloy lead versus Zap lead. This time, July is leading with the Zapdos. Don't July to me. And Snorlax is going on the offensive here. Pardon me. There. I realize I don't have access to the buttons. So in comes the Cloyster. Lays the spikes as the Lax goes to sleep. Cloyster is a really solid Mon that can come in while the Lax is asleep. Any novice player would know that, but some of the very new players, some of my newest viewers might not know that. So Gengar comes in, and there's another advantage because the Cloyster can deal spectacular damage to the Gengar. The Gengar already doesn't want to come in a second time. And with that in mind, Dawn might not want to bring in Gengar the next time that Cloyster could threaten to explode. Steelix, so we see a Steelix on July's team. Cloy. As Lax comes in, July is going to stay proactive and bring in Steelix. Taking some damage, yes, but we also see that this Snorlax is Sleep Talk Earthquake. Which makes me think that there isn't a Golem in the back. I mean, the Dawn fan should already be indicative of that as well from the previous game. That already makes me feel like that. But anyways, the Steelix explodes, and Dawn makes a second correct explosion prediction by going to Cloyster. Well, prediction. It's more of a safe play in that case. It's a safe switch, but not a prediction. Not a hard one, at least. Zapdos. It's too early to tell what team either player is using. That's because we don't really know. These are the three most common picks you can have. Gengar, Cloyster, and Steelix, as well as Zapdos, are no-brainers for an offense team. It's no wonder that Cloyster, Gengar, and Zapdos are called the Big Three. But in comes Steelix. Now we can have a better assessment of what Don's team might be. There's probably no spinner. Okay? In fact, right now, both teams are identical. But you never know. You never know. There could be a special attacker. There could be a Machamp. The Steelix is going to curse up. Steelix has the highest defense of any viable OU Pokemon. It's able to withstand even a +6 Earthquake from Snorlax. And this Zapdos is pretty threatening. With the Steelix gone, I feel like the ball is in the court of Dawn. Dawn has a pretty powerful Snorlax that will be unbothered by the rest of the team. Crap. I should have hid that. Okay, well, now they both don't have a normal resist. Hang on a second. Okay, so Dawn has a T-Wave Zap. Not every day that you see T-Wave, but it does successfully manage to cripple the Gengar, and then it misses, because of course it does. Such is the life of those that abide by yellow magic. It doesn't prove to be consistent. Staying in on a Gengar is a death wish. And there is the explosion. In comes T-Tar. Rock Slide connects. What is Dawn's last? Will it be able to take out the last 3 Pokemon? It better, because otherwise Dawn loses. And no, it's a Tentacruel. Tentacruel is not going to be able to contend with these 3 mons. With 1, maybe 2, but not all 3. July wins by force of numbers, of course. Well, I mean, it's too soon to tell, but you guys already saw the other video without the audio, right? Snorlax kills here. All right. Okay. So, right now, both players are 1 game away from qualifying for the main event of GSC Invitational number 4 or something. Okay? So, we will have a gander. How do I... tabs, and here. At the last game. And again, Cloyster and Zapdos lead. But this time, there is a Raikou. In comes the stir, the cloy. And July chooses to explode on Cloyster. I don't agree with this play. I would never explode on a Cloyster. Not because it's, I don't know, it just doesn't really seem like it benefits me. Okay, and Golem explodes. Machamp is looking extremely threatening right now without that Zapdos there. Sure, Gengar might have Hypnosis, but Machamp, aside from the Hypnosis, could, at full health, 1v1 the Gengar. And it's faster than Snorlax. So Dawn made a nice aggressive play, and now the Machamp can one-hit KO the Gengar if it has Earthquake, which it doesn't reveal to have. Goes for Rock Slide instead. Hypnosis from the Gar does not connect. There is the Snorlax coming in. And with Golem gone, Dawn might not have a good normal resist. So this is a little bit awkward right now, because the Gengar could explode, and it does, and it takes out the Raikou. This game is coming down to the wire, and Snorlax is going to set up in Cloyster's face. July says, I don't have time. I'm going to explode right away. And use my T-Tar. That's not what you want as a last mon versus Machamp. And it takes a hefty amount of damage. Rock Slide should be able to kill. Never mind. Confusion ends right on this turn. And the T-Tar goes down. What am I doing if I'm Dawn? I guess it doesn't matter. I'm going straight to Machamp. Straight to Machamp. And that cross chop is going to connect. What is in the back? Heracross. There's like a 15% chance that the Heracross misses. Okay, and it connects. So it looks like Dawn will be moving into the main event. But, small reveal. When I was recording the video, I didn't know this, but now, when I was recording the first video, now, since I re-recorded it, even July made it as an invitee. All right. I hope you guys enjoy, and catch you all later. Hopefully the audio went through this time.